Good evening. Thank you for watching Beyond the Headlines with Bailey Hufstetler. I'm your host, Bailey Hufstetler. Very excited tonight. We are back in the studio again, and yes, we have Adam McRorie, who is running for County Executive. He is here in the studio again tonight for the final Table Talk.
Table Talk. Yeah.
Been watching those. Those are really cool.
Yeah.
I'm really liking those. So, but we're doing this right before Election Day. So just to where, I know that I've said this time and time again, and there's actually a disclaimer that's going to pop up as well, and everything's posted. This interview slot was bought and paid for by Adam's campaign. So before anybody gets on here and shares this episode and give an extra airtime to him, he paid for it. So the other candidates for any office know how to get a hold of me personally. They all have my cell phone number. If they felt like this show was worthy enough for them to be on, to have their campaign on, they would have called me, texted me, got on here. Adam obviously felt like my show was worthy enough to be on. I'm thankful for that. And he has been on here twice, but it's because he has paid for both slots. So I'm going to air that out right now. Keyboard warriors, you can do whatever you want to with that. So
They're going to warrior. It doesn't matter.
Oh, yes. Yeah. They're going to do whatever. So
it's okay.
But anyway, so we're going to get right into it. Again, thank you for coming tonight.
Hey, thank you for having me on.
Yeah, very excited. So Thursday's Election Day. Got 2 more days. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good, feeling strong. We've had a good week, had a lot of good feedback. Early voting was exciting. It was hot, but we had a lot of good feedback, a lot of people stopping by to talk to us, had a lot of phone calls, even this afternoon, and it's been good. We've been having a lot of fun with it. I love getting out and meeting people, and I look forward to continuing that. This isn't going to be the end. This is going to be the beginning of getting out and talking to people, wherever I can meet them.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, you mentioned early voting. So early voting was just this past week and the week before that, both here in Dayton and also Spring City. Spring City had a time for early voting as well. And we're reading in the news that, this is actually, we actually had a really good turnout.
We did.
Which is, one of the biggest topics that we've even talked about on the show is low voter turnout.
Right.
So the fact that we are seeing a positive trend in that, what do you think that says for the community?
Looking back on 4 years ago at the general election, there was a little over 4,000 votes cast in total for the election. For early voting this year, we've had 3,800 and some change.
Wow.
Already in early voting. So I'm hoping that translates to we're ready for some change. We're ready to do something different because I think that in my race especially that's going to indicate that the people are they're wanting better. They're wanting different. So I think that's translating well for me.
Yeah, and I think that's amazing to hear those numbers. Especially compared to what we've had in the past for different races. So in different elections. So hopefully that turnout continues on Election Day. So for Thursday. Going right into your campaign, so you've been doing a lot of, you've been going to a lot of events, you've been on Facebook, you've been on this show, you've been knocking on doors. Mm-hmm. Tell me what one of the biggest things that you've heard out in the community so far about any changes that they want, or just what's the biggest concern that the citizens have right now?
Well, there's a lot of concern. Our social media type stuff has really helped. I think there is a growing interest in politics and in government in general. I think the last couple of presidential cycles have really, opened people's eyes to a lot of things and gotten them involved. So, I think that communication with the public is a big thing. That's something I've been hearing a lot about. We've been doing our table talks, and they've been very well received. It's hard to get out and go door to door, everywhere in the county. So that's the way that we figured out it's best to communicate. I don't think my mic went off. There we go. Okay. I think that the table talks have been a way that we've been able to open up to the community and communicate effectively with them, because it's not possible to get to every door. But this is just the beginning. I look forward to continuing the table talks and into my administration, and be able to keep communicating with the public at large, making sure they know what's going on. So I'm hearing a lot from people about that they enjoy the communication, and they message and they ask for table talks, they ask for different topics. So communication has been a big thing this year.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I'm assuming, so going into, one of the biggest things that I know that a lot of people that I've heard just over the years is just transparency.
Yeah.
And so I think that you could utilize that.
Oh, yeah.
Social
Yeah.
media, the table talks that everybody's living right now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So if you just look at our local government in general, the county started recording their meetings, and they're preserved, preserved on YouTube. And you can watch them after the fact. The city of Dayton has actually gone a step further. They're doing live.
Yeah.
Now the comments aren't monitored. If you have something that you need to say, you really need to come down there to the meetings and be in attendance. And but just the fact that they're broadcasting live where people can watch, I think that's it's all about transparency. People want to know. They want to know what's happening. And that I've had people tell me over time that in general people just want government to just do their job and leave them out of it. And I really just don't think that's as much true anymore. I think that a lot of people are wanting to know. They're wanting to be involved. So, that's one of our big goals, is just to increase that communication. Unfortunately, the newspaper is a once a week publication now. So, news is very delayed. Social media, If you get all your news off of social media, you probably aren't getting the news. But
unless it's on Rhea County Observer.
Rhea County Observer, of course, yeah. But I think that just communication, transparency, it kind of all goes hand in hand to improve communications.
Yeah, I paid him for that sponsorship, by the way, of Rhea County Observer. No, I'm just kidding. So yeah, and I think also too, something that why I've enjoyed politics so much is to get more young people involved.
Oh yeah.
Do you see that trend right now?
I do. Yeah, there's a fairly large group of young people that have a lot of them are coming out of high school and they're very much wanting to be involved, and a lot of young voters. My children being two of them. My son's a senior up at ETSU, and he has. As of yesterday, I don't think he's received his mail-in ballot yet. But so I'm kind of starting to worry that we can't hand deliver it back. It actually has to come through the mail. So it may be like California. It's maybe like 3 weeks from now we're still counting vote. No, just kidding. Yeah. But my daughter actually went and cast her vote the other day, and I was proud of her. She this is her first general election. She voted in the primary. That was her first time voting, and she actually came down one of the first days of early voting, and she thought it was just the general election. And when she got in there and found out that there were state and federal primaries on the ballot, she would not vote.
Oh.
So she actually went into the Election Commission office and got her a sample ballot, and she went home and researched all the candidates.
Wow. So
and that's another thing with just the communications and transparency. She's getting on the internet. She's looking to see what she can find on the internet. That's where she's looking for this information. So, and she won't tell me who she voted for. She told me she voted for me, but other than that, she won't tell me who she voted for. So, she takes it very seriously.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
Yep.
Well, going into that and looking into, obviously, you've been campaigning a lot, here lately, trying to tell everybody why you're the best choice. But use this time, this moment right now to just tell everyone why you feel like that you are the best choice for this office.
Yeah. So I think I have kind of a myriad of experience. It's I've worked for city and state government. I've also been involved in the private side with. We have a campground here in town, and also through the Dayton Chamber of Commerce. I've worked with a lot of business leaders, and even through my time at the fire department, I worked with a lot of industrial and commercial partners. To help them resolve issues and help them to be able to keep their doors open, even in the event of an emergency. We've been able to try to work through stuff. So I feel like I bring a very broad range of experience, everything from dealing with emergencies to the business side, and I've been in a lot of decision making times where I've had to make decisions on the fly in the middle of the night in the dark with not all the information, and I've also been in situations where I've had time to sit and really contemplate decisions before they're made. And financial decisions and that sort of thing. So I just really feel like I bring a very broad view of government and of the way government's supposed to work, and just life in general, just lived experience.
Yeah, that's awesome. Throughout this campaign season, you have been getting a lot of endorsements, and one of those notable endorsements is April Thacker, who her dad served as county executive for a long time. Good friend of mine. One that I miss. George used to actually. It's funny. I told April the other day. I miss his 10, 11 o'clock at night phone calls. If he thought he'd see me out in town and I wouldn't be as cheery or whatever, and he's afraid I was mad at him, so he'd call me. He'd say, "Are you mad at me?" No, George, I'm not mad at you. But he, did really a lot of good for this county. Whether or not he had his faults, and people can say what they want, but George really cared about this community. So getting that endorsement, I'm sure, really touched you. And then other endorsements you got from people that actually live here in the county. What do you think that says about this race?
Yeah, we've tried to keep our endorsements local. I don't think we hadn't had anybody from out of county. So we're trying to keep our endorsements local because those are the people that are here in the county. I've heard other people say that, other people have experience with the state, with Nashville. I'm not worried about Nashville. Nashville's not my business. We elect representatives and senators to take care of Nashville. I'm focused on Rhea County, and that's it. So, we've tried to keep our endorsements local to try to, highlight local people that you can relate to. April Thacker's endorsement was great. April Wazlowski was a great endorsement. I've had plenty of experience working with her father over the years. Everything from at emergency scenes to even he was at the fire department one time. He'd come down for something, and I was working on the Chamber of Commerce golf tournament, and I asked him if he wanted to be a hole sponsor, and he just reached in his pocket and pulled out cash, and just that quick, didn't have to think about it, So and the thing with Mayor Thacker that he wasn't ever afraid to roll up his sleeves and get to work, and that's one thing that I think is a positive of mine, is that I don't care. I'll run the chainsaw or I'll drag the limbs. It doesn't matter. If somebody needs help, I'm going to jump in there. So I think that's one of the big comparisons there that people have made, is that I'm just not afraid. I'm not afraid to jump in there and work. So, we've had some great endorsements. Today, my son was on there. We're kind of rounding up the endorsements. I think my wife is maybe going to be the last one to endorse me. So I hope she has something nice to say about me. We've had 26 years together. So hopefully she has something nice to say.
So that reminds me, my wife actually showed me a TikTok yesterday, and it'd say, the wife's supposed to, it says we should treat our husband more like Jesus. And it's like it zooms in on the wife, and she's reading her Bible and stuff, and then all of a sudden the camera changes, and it's the woman hammering in the nails in the hand. I'm like, you know what? That is the way I feel sometimes on how you. So that reminds me. That's funny. And one thing that I can say and that I will say, and we talked about this earlier, is that going back to social media and how negative social media can be, just in general, people can hide behind fake profiles and post whatever they want, and there's no repercussions for it, things like that. But what I would like to point out and just mention, because you have still stayed true to what I feel like what you've campaigned on, and you've not bantered back and forth with the negative, campaigning and the backbiting and all that stuff. You've not really entertained any of that. How hard has that been for you?
You see a lot of negativity on there. People they'll sit behind the keyboard and post things that they would never ever say to your face, and it hurts. It stings. There's no doubt about that. But at the end of the day, the pig wants you to get in the mud, and I'm not going to get in the mud. I just try to stay above that, try to stay out of it. Like I say, there's a lot of people saying a lot of things, and unfortunately on social media, stuff doesn't have to be true for people to believe it. Actually, the more insane it is, I think the quicker it spreads. So, but I just try to stay up out of it. It does hurt. I'm glad my children are older. I know that I've seen other candidates that have younger children that have really been hurt by the negative stuff, but my kids are older, and of course they're off to college, so they don't see as much of it. I worry about my wife from time to time because there's stuff that's said that, and it hurts her feelings, and she knows the truth, but we have to, just try to stay out of it, try to stay upbeat, try to stay positive, try to keep a good face on. So it's tough, but we're making it.
Yeah. Well, and I hate, your first interview that you had, on the show, I wasn't able to be here. I was with VBS. So if I bring up anything that Robbie or Ted brought up, because it has been a while since I've seen that episode, so forgive me. But what do you think the number one main priority that you should have if you win county executive? What would that number one priority be for you on day one?
So I think that I come from the emergency service world. That's what I do. I think that the first thing is going to be observing, just trying to see what all's happening, try to understand all the roles. I want to spend, a good month just kind of observing. We've done a lot of that already. We've talked to a lot of county employees, so I have some pretty good ideas of what's going on. Mm-hmm. But, I want to really observe. And then there's going to be some changes that I think, like I say, from the emergency service side, I'm a big believer in span of control, that an effective supervisor can supervise between 3 and 7 people, with kind of 5 being the optimal number. And so we're going to be taking a good hard look at some of the county departments that maybe have too many people that they're supervising, and some that maybe don't have anybody that they're supervising, or just one person they're supervising. So try to combine some of those and try to structure it a little bit better. Also, another big term that I like to throw around from emergency services is unity of command. And what unity of command means is that you can only have one boss. Mm-hmm. So it's really confusing for a lot of the county employees that have multiple people coming at them all day long, wanting stuff. And, so I think it's important to clarify that structure and chain of command, and let each employee know who they report to, and then that way we can kind of clear up some of that communication. But then too, I want to take a good hard look at county employee benefits and wages. I've mentioned this several times before, but the existing county employees that have been there for a while have 100% health care coverage on individual. Nothing on family, but a lot of the new employees, the new hires, are only getting 75% coverage. So they might not be earning the best wage, and then right out of the gate they got to pay 25% of their health care coverage, and if they want to do family, they pay 100% of that. So there's going to be some things like that we're going to look at and try to see if I can get the employees to buy in and help me find places where we can save some money and try to reinvest it back in our employees and improve the work life for employees, work-life balance, and that sort of thing. That's going to be something we're going to be taking a look at.
Yeah, I remember when that. So whenever I worked up at dispatch, mm-hmm. With the insurance was, it being 100% paid, that was a good benefit. Yeah. And I remember when that switched. Thankfully, I was there, which I'm not there anymore, but I was there when they switched it, so I grandfathered into the 100%. But just seeing that changed, I was like, oh my goodness. Yeah. Compared to the pay that they're getting already, and then having to pay for, it just didn't make much sense to me. So. No.
And you brought up dispatchers. That's another thing that I've talked about a little bit before, is that our dispatchers currently are kind of classified as clerical employees, not emergency workers. And I want to that might sound silly, just to change the definition a little bit. But I want to recognize them for what they are, what they're doing. I want to recognize. I mean, I've been on the other end of that radio, and the dispatcher was the only friend I had out there. So, I think it's important that we recognize them for what they're doing, and not just call them clerical workers. That's not a good classification for them.
Yeah, what people don't realize about dispatchers is that they, especially here in Rhea County, so we're not as big as Hamilton County. Right. Hamilton County has separate people that do radio,
call takers and dispatchers. Yeah.
Up in Rhea County, that's not the case.
No,
they do it all.
Yeah, you're on the phone and listening to somebody having the worst moment of their life and trying to get emergency services rolling at the same time, and it's a tough job.
Yeah. So they're very, very, they're more than secretaries.
Yeah.
I appreciate even though I'm not doing it anymore. But I appreciate your efforts and that, and recognizing them, because they don't get the recognition a lot that they deserve.
They don't.
So going to emergency services, and one thing that I actually talked to Teresa Congeloso about whenever she was here, when she's running for state senate, is something that I'm sure you're probably familiar with being on the fire department in Dayton. You probably had to possibly wait on stuff like this, but one thing that we talked about was access to like rural health care, to ambulances and things like that, especially in our far off areas of the county. What do you think the solution is to that situation?
So I've had a lot of conversations about the ambulances, and to be quite honest with you, when you actually really get to looking into emergency medical services, there's two different kinds of service. You got 911 service, and you got transfer service. So your 911 service is the expensive side, because you're paying for preparedness. You're paying for people to be there ready to go to respond to emergencies. The transfer side is, that's where you're hauling people between facilities. You're hauling them to other facilities, and you're just go all day long. Our service here is not so big that they can do one or the other. So they're having to do both, and it's a privately run service. The county contributes $0 to that service.
Wow.
When I look around at other counties, even the ones that are using other private services, they are having to do some kind of a supplement to supplement the service. So I think it's important to bring together the people who understand the situation and let them kind of hash things out. I think too often, we try to create solutions that maybe don't fit the situation.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to kind of let the people who know what they're talking about get together and let's figure this out. Response times I know are longer, in certain areas of the county, and to be honest with you, the areas where the emergencies are most likely to happen are where the ambulances are stationed. Yeah. There are more remote areas of the county that definitely deserve the same coverage. But it's not always feasible to pay a crew to sit, in an area for a long period of time. Yeah. Are there things that we can do to improve response times? Well, sure. And one thing that we did there at Dayton is we had EMR program, the emergency medical responder, which I'm not going to try to force it on anybody, but it allowed our firefighters, and it could even apply to sheriff's deputies or whoever. There might be people in the community that don't really want to do the fire side, but they wouldn't mind to help with the medical. And so it's not really, people want to focus on response times and that sort of thing, but what we need to focus on is outcomes. Yeah. And so we want to improve the outcomes of the situations, and just having more people out there in the community to be able to help would definitely improve outcomes and response times in the process. Yeah.
Yeah, I had an interview on here a little bit ago. It's been a couple months back. I'm an individual who didn't realize that even our fire departments in the county were strictly all volunteers.
Yeah.
But I'm happy to see that they're actually here. I saw a post on Facebook this week. They're hiring, I guess, two more full-time?
Yeah, 2 more full-time. So that'll put, I think they'll have 2 career firefighters on 24/7 up there in Evansville. So, that's an improvement. We want to keep improving on that, but we have to remember that we're 99% volunteer as well. Yeah. I had a conversation today with a guy talking about the fire department, and we were talking about the terminology differences between, you've got these people call them full-time firefighters, and they're career firefighters. That's their job, okay? Then you got volunteers that, that's not their job. They have other jobs, and then they do that voluntarily. Yeah. But a word that's thrown around a lot that's really not a good choice is professional. Mm. And you'll hear, I've heard other organizations that they call themselves, Professional Firefighters Association. Listen, you can be a volunteer and be just as professional as a career. Yeah. And I've seen some not so professional career fire departments. So, I think working on professionalism is the key, and just keeping that balance between career and volunteer to make sure that we don't fail to recognize the volunteers' efforts. They're doing it out of the goodness of their heart, and dedicating their time for training and responding.
Yeah, that's awesome. So we've got just 2 more days. So what are you working on right now for these next 2 days?
So the biggest thing is, we're trying to be respectful of these. There's several of the polling places that are at churches. And so, we don't want to like move in and encroach on a church. They've got tomorrow night, services and stuff. So probably late tomorrow night and early Thursday morning, we'll be out and trying to get sign placement around those churches. Yeah. Some of the non religious places, we have already got signs in place. But we're going to be, trying to get those signs out there and get people at each location just to, if somebody hadn't made up their mind, if there's some, have somebody there just to answer questions or try to direct calls to me or whatever. And then it's going to be cleanup time. Yeah. It's going to be time to pick up all those signs. And, we the little yard signs, we put out 550 of those. I'm going to be surprised if we find 300 of them. But there are 550 of those signs out there somewhere. And then I guess about 30-something banners. And I know everybody will be, they either look like tulips or weeds, depending upon your view. They're starting to look like weeds to me, even though I like them. But I'm ready for them to come down. It's going to be a pretty good undertaking just to get all the signs down. But, I hope to be doing it cheerfully with a win and, taking those down and being happy about it.
Yeah. Are you doing an election watch party or anything, or are you going to be down at the courthouse? What's your plan for that night?
Yeah, we are. We're doing just a small get-together just for the people that are going to be out at the polls and stuff. We're not doing like a big, open to the public. Yeah. But we're just going to have a meal. Yeah. We're going to be down there near the courthouse. So we're going to do a meal just for the people that have been helping us. Yeah. And then head on down to the Centennial Park and watch the results come in. Perfect. The city of Dayton's putting on that, a watch party there in Centennial Park. And, the thing I'll say about that is win, lose, or draw. I don't care who you are. I don't what candidate you support. Let's keep it civil, So obviously there's going to be winners and losers. And, just let's keep it civil. Everybody needs to just keep it civil and, cheer on your candidate, but then also, respect others, respect their views and that sort of thing.
Yeah. Because Thursday night, you are correct. There will be winners. There will be losers. We've got a lot of positions that are up for grabs this election, county executive being one of the more important ones, in my opinion. And then we've got the sheriff election, several county commission election, seats going to be open and up for grabs too. So really big night on Thursday. And with the way early voting's turned out, seems like it's going to be a pretty good election.
Yeah, we're hoping for that. I know in the primary back in May, there was a really heavy early vote. And then election day was really slow. Yeah. I do not feel that's the way it's going to happen this time. I think it's going to be a very heavy day. So, and that's awesome. I love it. We have 23,000 registered voters in Rhea County. We've had 3,800 come out, which is better than it usually is, but still, we could do a lot better, Rhea County.
Yeah. And then do you have anything final that you'd like to say? This is your last final moment before polls open on Thursday to at least be on this show. I'm sure you'll do more table talks and stuff that. But any final thing you want to say to them before we close off tonight?
Well, I just appreciate everybody that's come out and supported me. I appreciate all the encouragement and the phone calls. It's been great. I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed getting out and meeting people. I've enjoyed the communication back and forth through people relating to the table talks, and it's been awesome. It's been a great ride. I've enjoyed it. But I just want to ask everybody for their vote. I mean, if you are, what's the saying? If you keep, you won't change, but you keep electing the same people, don't be surprised. Yeah. So, I think that, I want to encourage everybody that if you want better for Rhea County, if you want things to progress, if you want a county executive that's going to be approachable and accessible, I'm your guy. So I've put my number out there everywhere, 423-605-0286. I probably get 9,000 phone calls now, but that's okay. But, I want to be approachable and I want to be accessible to the people. And, that's kind of what I've run my campaign on, and that's what I look forward to doing in the future. So I would appreciate your vote. If you haven't decided and you want to see more information, you can check out our Facebook. You can give me a call. I just threw my number out there for the world. But give me a call. Let's talk about it. I would love to talk to you. If you have questions, I'd love to hear from you.
Yeah. Well, thank you again for coming on tonight.
Yeah, thank you.
And we really appreciate you being here. I'm glad that I had the opportunity to interview you this time. We'll see you on Thursday. Thursday night, we are doing the election coverage episode here. I will have Ted Engel, who public defender and then also chairman of the Republican Party for Rhea County. He will be on a panel with me on Thursday, and we will be covering the elections live. We're covering the results live as they come in, so we're very excited about that. Thursday is going to be a very busy day for me as well. I'm going to be going around talking to different candidates, interviewing, that way that we can have a really good broadcast on Thursday night, so it's a broadcast you don't want to miss. I would encourage, if any candidates are doing watch parties or anything, have us pulled up and watch it, because we'll be getting our results straight from, I'll have somebody stationed at the courthouse, but then we'll also be getting results directly from the state's website. So we're very excited about that. One more thing before we sign off, talking about our next event that we have. We are doing the Senior Expo. That is going to be on September the 9th. That is Wednesday, September the 9th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. I want to be very clear. This is separate from the Senior Day that's happening at the fair. I do know that the location here is the same. It's the fairgrounds. Molly Talent does a wonderful job with the Senior Day at the fair, but it's a totally separate event. It's even different type of event. There are resources and vendors and stuff there at the fair. I'm not saying that, but it's a totally different event. So, and Molly, whenever I was even talking about doing this, Molly is actually helping me with this. So no way in shape or form was this to try to take away from her event, or even the Herald. So, and I'll mention that too. The Herald News typically does, a Senior Expo. They normally do it in June. I waited around in June to see if they were ever going to do it, and they didn't. I reached out to the Herald several times, was told they possibly were going to do one in August. It wasn't confirmed yet. Reached out to several people who have been involved in their expo in years past. Also said they hadn't heard anything. And in my mind, if you're not organizing it that early, you're probably not going to do it. So in order to make an event successful, you have to put time and preparation into it. So I just assumed that they were not going to be doing it. Come to find out they are, which is fine. They can do it as well. We're all entitled to be able to do our own events. But I do want to say theirs is happening in August. Ours is in September. Again, totally separate event. Just look at it this way. Going to be more opportunities for the senior community to be able to get resources that they may or may not have been able to get at either event. So ours are 2 different days. I think the Herald's doing theirs on a Saturday. Ours is a Wednesday. So, going to be 2 wonderful opportunities for the seniors in our community. And seniors are the backbone of our community. I mean, they've raised this community. They've done a lot for this community. So why not just provide them resources? And that's what we're doing with this event. So very excited about that. But that's happening again on September the 9th. If you are a healthcare provider, senior service, whatever the case may be, if you provide services to seniors, home health, hospice, assisted livings, memory cares, whatever the case may be, if you're interested in being a vendor, there is a form on our Facebook page that you can get. I'm also emailing that out and going around and talking to different businesses as well. So if you want to be a part of that, reach out, and we will get you on the list for that, for you to participate in that. Thank you guys so much for watching tonight. We really appreciate it. And as always, God bless Rhea County, God bless Tennessee, and God bless America.